Thanks to Hungry Jacks, you can win a trip for two to the 2018 World's Grand Final in Korea. To enter, head to os.lollysports.com/worlds-trip and fill out your details. The trip includes flights, transfers, accommodation, and tickets to the 2018 World's Grand Final. All thanks to Hungry Jacks.
Hello and welcome back to the OPL Week 5, day number 2, of course, brought to you by Hungry Jacks. Still Spawn and Egypt, bringing you the action live from Pyrmont, Sydney. And that was an interesting 2-0 from Mammoth.
Yes, it was a very slow 2-0. You know, the games went for a very long time, but they showed us some niche strategies we haven't seen. The Karthus cleared. Pretty cool.
And for a 2-0, it went for a very long time as well. However, we have another best of 3 coming your way. It is going to be Legacy taking on Avant Gaming on what would normally be a 4th versus 5th clash. However, it is now a 7th versus 8th clash.
Taken a very big tumble down the ladder from where we expect this matchup, and I was honestly very surprised. AV have looked super rough, but Legacy have like looked good and bad. And when I realized like they were 7th place, I was like, wow, okay, because they've just lost. When they've lost 0-2, so they haven't picked up any points. And then the games they've won, they've only 2-1, so they're only on 4 points and find themselves to 4 to AV's 3.
You certainly do, guys. Are you surprised at the current landscape of how Legacy are looking? You know, 7th versus 8th, Ryoma. Is this where you would expect the team to be?
I thought Legacy would be a bit more higher, like 3rd place, 4th place. But
3rd place? Ooh.
Oh, maybe not 3rd, but for 4th place, yeah. But I think AV was, I thought that was like AV meant to be, you know? Yeah. I thought they were meant to be just like, wait, at the 8th place?
Yeah.
I thought that would be 8th place this split.
Is that Fantix? Is that his tier list rubbing off on you a little bit, or is that your own opinion?
No, I think
Chiefs house.
I just think all teams made upgrades, and like AV, I don't know if downgraded, but
Side graded.
yeah, maybe just like haven't like moved up.
I would also argue that this has all happened since I've come into the OPL. So I feel like I've come in, suddenly everyone's forgotten how to play League of Legends, and then everything is just messed up. So that could potentially be part of it. Now, we're going to be around for another series tonight on the couch here. What we want from you guys, a couple of weeks ago, we did a shout out to you of things that you wanted to see in the OPL, in the broadcast, whether it's segments or ideas for pieces of content or something like that. You guys sent in some cool ideas. We thought that we would do a sort of more official shout out here, that we want to know what you guys want to see in the show. If you have good ideas for segments, things that we could do here on the couch, things for the desk, pre-record things, whatever you want, there will be a link in the chat now, and if there isn't, then I'll make sure it's there by the time I go back upstairs. We want to hear your ideas. We're going to then, in the next segment, adjudicate some of them. We're going to criticize harshly, I would say, if I know anything about you. And we're going to find the best ones, and we will end up implementing those throughout the rest of the split. But yeah, you guys will be able to win Mystery Skins and Hextech Chest, and we'll also name those segments after you. So that's a pretty cool opportunity to make yourself part of OPL history. Bryce is nodding along. He's got a very
my head.
face.
I didn't know we'll name the segment after you. Are you gonna have to come up with some real witty name for whoever comes up with the segment? Like,
Yes.
is that what's happening?
Yes, you are going to have to come
Me-
up with that, Bryce. That is correct.
Oh, okay.
What does Nick actually do on the show?
Yeah, he's outsourcing his work to the public and
Good
just
question.
blaming me.
It's a good question. Nobody knows. But you're going to close this one out? I'll see you later.
Come back.
Come back.
Come back. All right, cool. Let's get back into the second series of the night. Let's go through the team that's starting on the blue side. It is going to be Legacy Esports. Mimic is their top laner, only in the jungle, playing against his former team, Bryce. Claire, the superstar mid laner, Raid and Decoy, their bottom lane, and Coach Lucio Soul Strikes Park is their coach. That's why he's called Coach Lucio.
Yep. What does that mean?
I just can't speak.
That's all right. You said superstar mid laner. I feel like everybody currently agrees with that performance at Rift Rovers. Legacy, we've seen some more recent games, of course, played at the tournament.
Who won MVP last split? Chippies did,
Yes.
right? Because he was hashtag not my MVP. I thought that Claire was the out-and-out MVP. And trust me, as an Order fan, I got to watch up close and personal what the man is capable of doing. However, do want to talk about the Rift Rivals performance outside of Claire. What did you see there? Does it change your positional ranking of this team? Are they a 7th place team? Should they be higher?
I think they should be higher. I would probably rate them higher than Mammoth. I feel like there's obviously some parity there. Like on a bad day, on a good day, teams can lose, but definitely higher than Bombers, higher than AV, maybe higher than Mammoth in that sort of like...
Higher than Tectonic? That's the only team you've left out.
That's actually
Tectonic
very
just got
interesting.
2-0'd by Mammoth.
Yeah. So maybe yes.
So they're the second best team in the league right now.
Well, no.
Well, how not? Because Tectonic are currently like in parity with Order and Chiefs. So you have literally just taken 6 teams and
no.
gone, well, they're better than all these guys.
No, okay.
So like,
I
let's
think
just
they're-
slot them in here.
I think they're better than the bottom 3. So like
Okay.
I put like AV, Bombers, and like maybe Mammoth down there.
Okay.
And like that, like Mammoth, Legacy, and Tectonic like in the middle.
Because
and
you
I still rate
realize
the
if
rest
they're
at the top.
maybe better than Mammoth and they're maybe better than Tectonic, then maybe they're not, and you're just moving them 1 position. So they're not much better than what
But
you
you
think.
asked like, should they be higher? And my answer is yes.
1 position higher for
That's the
Bryce.
answer.
However, let's go through the next roster. It's going to be Avant Gaming. Palmer was their top laner. Freyless in the jungle. Frey, their mid laner. Darkseid and Jake are their bottom lane. Charlie Wraith, their coach. And this is a lineup which is running out of answers, I think, to
Yes.
very important questions like, who is the carry?
And I think the only answer they currently have is Parbu. And the way they've been playing, they're like pick him Aatrox. He did get solo killed by Amundo, but like at the back end of that game, like Freyless is just putting all his resources into Parbu because this team, I think, especially recently, just looks kind of lost. They remind me in their last week's play as Parbu, doing some cute stuff to the camera, like old school Chiefs, like in Immunity era, where like they would just have constant pressure points, they would be building slow leads, and then there would be a punish team where they wouldn't make proactive plays, they would punish your mistakes. But the caveat is that they're not building slow leads. They're slowly losing the games in the laning phase,
Okay.
and then are trying to punish, and it's just not being successful.
So you would say it's not a successful style so far.
Yes,
Okay.
very unsuccessful. And
Perfect.
they find themselves in 8 play.
I'm just trying to clarify your points for the people at home because I
Yeah.
know people do get slightly confused sometimes.
Just don't ask me about ladder math, and you did it. Ladder math is, it's not good. It's
Isn't
not
it?
good.
I like ladder math.
I hate ladder math.
Really?
Especially mid-show.
Is that why you
where
went
I-
1, 2, 3 irrelevant
where
because
I-
you forgot what came in
I
the
couldn't
irrelevant
count past
section?
3. No, my schedule, because we're midway through the show, so you're like asking me who's on what points, and I'm like, I don't know. I prepped it coming into the day, wrote it down.
Give me that sheet.
And now who knows? We're into draft. You're just going to read my spreadsheets, as I'm going to actually play by play through this one. So AV been away Claire Zoe and the Aatrox, and Claire Zoe made a big name for himself, especially he made a very big play at the Rift Rivals, and it's going to be Camille, Dr. Mundo, and Morgana banned away from Legacy's side.
So if Legacy 2-0 here,
Yep.
they will leap above Bombers,
Okay.
who are on 5 points because they just lost 0-2, and
Yep.
they will equalize with Tectonic.
Yep.
So it will go Direwolves, Order, Mammoth, Chief, Tectonic, Legacy. So they will be 5th, 6th.
Okay. Yes. And that in my... Okay, maybe I did a very poor job at explaining it. Not maybe, I did. I think, despite results,
Yep.
that like Direwolves, Chiefs, Order are like the top 3. There's like this middle ground with Legacy, Mammoth, and Tectonic in there.
Okay.
And I feel like AV and Bombers find themselves at the bottom of the ladder.
Perfect. We've done it.
That's-
We've got a
that's where I
decisive
was going
answer. That
to.
is what I love to see. It's going to be Camille, Mundo, as well as Morgana taken off the board by the Legatree. Swain, Aatrox, as well as Zoe taken away. An immediate Lucian lock-in. Zaya Rakan will be the answer.
I honestly really like this from AV so far. Legacy, they play a whole lot of Lucian Braum, but when other teams play Lucian Braum, they stomp bottom lane and they carry the game.
Yep.
Legacy play a lot of equalize the lane with Lucian Braum.
Weak side Lucian
Yes.
Braum.
And they're going to lock it in here. So they play it a lot, but I feel like they don't find success through their bottom lane. And AV have the Zaya Rakan. Very potent early. It's more of a skill matchup, Lucian Braum into the Zaya Rakan, but there's definitely ability to fight there. And I like that they're taking some early tools.
And I like the Kindred pickup if they don't engage onto the Kindred. If Zyra can't go in and Kindred gets the ultimate down, will definitely save lives.
Yep.
However, if only gets hit by
The Charm,
the Charm,
the knock-up.
he is one-hittable at every stage of the game, as Poppy is going to be the pickup for Parbu.
I have a question for you, because I don't know the answer.
Okay.
If Kindred ulti is down on the map, and there's multiple people in there, and Poppy knocks you up in the Kindred ulti,
You're
do you get
still
the
in.
heal?
Oh, no, you don't get the heal.
Yeah, I don't think you do, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't die, obviously, because you're in the air and
Yeah.
you're untargetable, but you don't get the heal.
Yeah, correct.
So I like that. That's cool.
You
That's
can
like
also knock people out.
Yeah, you can, like, throw them away and then win the fight, like, 5 versus 2 if you knock 3 people away.
Yep.
That'd be a pretty ideal situation, and
Poppy Ultimate is like a game-changing ultimate, but you just don't see it change many games. That's such a strange thing to say. But how often
Yeah.
do you see like a Baron fight, Poppy winds up, knocks 3 people away, then you wipe the Baron? You just don't see it for some reason.
you see the Poppy, like, look for the game-changing play,
Yeah.
and then it just slightly misses, and the jungler doesn't get hit, and he gets into the pit, and he smites away the
But I
Baron.
feel like it should be hittable.
Yep.
I feel like Bard Poppy should be a thing. You should Bard ulti them all, Then as they're just coming out, Poppy Ultimate comes through.
For people that talk about ease of execution and reliable
That is
CC,
not an ease
Bard
of
ulti as your primary engage tool is
No, not engage, in a hold them still tool.
But what? Yeah, I guess it's proactive disengage.
Yeah.
Because you Bard ulti them and then knock them away.
And then you engage afterwards. Sometimes you got to run away to win a fight.
You've got some ideas, Jake.
Darius
That's
Gameplay,
what we'll leave it at.
Zinzao, Nocturne. This is why I'm not allowed in the drafting chat. It's going to be Sejuani locked in.
So they pick up the Poppy, they ban Darius, they ban Gangplank, and with Aatrox and Swain gone as well. Camille on the side of Legacy, a lot of the bruisers are banned, so Pabu feels safe to pick that one away, and they ban the rest. Sejuani locked in as the jungle pool, gets hit pretty hard, and I like that from Praylist, the fact that they do need some follow-up engage. They have the Rakan, they have the Poppy, but they want to CC people and lock them down for their damage to tick.
I mean, we very often talk about ease of execution. We could play the comp on the right-hand side.
Yeah. Yes.
That is a very easy comp to execute with. Vladimir as well as Ornn for some ease of execution on the side of Legacy is a consideration.
We're through draft phase right now, and we've said ease of execution way too many times for a single cast.
I like it.
It's the buzzword of the day. Absolutely, as the Ornn does finally get locked in, so...
We need different ways to say ease of execution. That's my job for the people at home, is give us multiple ways. Like, I want it to still mean what it means. It's like, it's very easy to do, but I want to crowdsource a different
synonyms.
term.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
so I can just wind them all in.
I like it. You need some variety there. Both of these teams so far looking for a little bit of the Fido, you know? It's going to be
And I have
AoE
been told
CC,
that we can only do one crowdsource segment at a time.
Oh.
So if that's the case, completely disregard what Nick Boy said earlier and tell me a different word for ease of execution.
Our producer neglected to, like, make a decision whether in-game and out-of-game are two separate things. So in-game, we're crowdsourcing ease of execution. Out-of-game, Nick's trying to get other people to do his job.
Yeah. Rise locked in for Frey. Big Rise champion.
Yeah. Big Rise player.
Yeah, that.
Has played a lot of it going up against the Vladimir. Claire's going for the aggressive Ignite. I'm interested in the raids actually going for the cleanse.
Huh.
It's not super good into the Rakan matchup, but when you have Rise CC, Sejuani, Xayah can root as well. There's a lot of like CCs that can hit him, so it makes sense, but given that this could be a very volatile matchup, it could be interesting.
Certainly should be interesting. Still Ghost Cleanse being hovered by Pabu.
Surely that's a bug.
I hope so.
I really hope Pabu is not playing Ghost Cleanse top lane. If he is, I expect him to have a spell book to like try and get some useful summoners, and for some reason his back to basic like tools are Cleanse and Ghost. But we will see. We will see when we actually get into game.
And both of these teams come online roughly the same time. Claire and Frey both need a couple of items to come online. Everyone else on the map is kind of happy with just the tools they have in their kit, and they get better as they accumulate items, but Lucian and Xayah are two of the best no-item 80 carries in the game. That's why they're still playable on the current patch. So I like what both coaches have done here. I think now this is one of the few games where I would say they're on fairly equal footing going into the game. Now it just comes down to who plays better, as Legacy is taking on Avant Gaming. We are joined by Soulstrike's coach of Legacy. First off, congratulations on Rift Rivals.
Thank you.
You guys coming out on the final day, taking out the #1 seed. That must have felt good.
Yeah, it was pretty back and forth, but Claire managed to get a penta highlight, so it was really good.
So what did you guys do for him after that? Like, that's a big moment. Like, did you just give him a pat on the back? Did he get a meal on the house?
Cake?
Like, what did it go with?
Yeah, we celebrated, but the day after, we just relaxed, and the second day after the Rift Rival, we just went back to practice straight away.
Back to work. I like it. I want to know what you guys sort of took from Rift Rivals, of course, playing against the non-domestic teams. Like, did you learn about any different styles from Southeast Asia, from Japan, to then bring back to the OPL?
We actually learned more from our OPL teams, because we were in the same green room team, so we got to see how Dialv and Chief practice and stuff, what their work ethics like. So I think it really boosts some players' motivation, seeing how Schönfire works really hard. So some players got really motivated by Schön's hard work ethic.
And I guess not a question about you guys, but a question about the Southeast Asian and the Japanese teams. Were you a little bit surprised by, the breaking of stigma? Southeast Asia not that aggressive, Japan not that slow in the end either. It was a little bit of a backwards tournament in the end, wasn't it, from a meta perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I think Japan definitely underperformed, and I think Southeast Asia, especially Mineski, took everyone by surprise.
So we saw a good late engage coming in. We'll just continue the chat. So I've got one more question. That is, we're seeing a lot more traditional AD carries being played by specific teams. What do you, because I know you're a big meta person, what do you think the current state of bottom lane is and how flexible is it?
I think right now, like both AD, I think the mages are definitely stronger. There are like Heimerdinger, Swain, and Morgana, but it really depends on the ADC, ADC player, if they can play one of those things. Like we, especially during Rift Rival, realized one of our weakness was we don't play mage support, and that's something that we heavily focused on this week.
All right, cool. Thank you very much for joining us, Soulstrikes. Best of luck in this game. Of course, that was Soulstrikes, head coach of Legacy, saviors of Oceania.
Yes.
When we were about to go down 0-2.
We almost went 0-2. We have conflicting opinions of what that means.
Yeah,
but
we certainly do.
Have seen some pretty interesting stuff already. AV went for a very late invade onto the top blue buff, hit the blast plane over there, and Mimic just barely being out of auto attack range meant that he stopped that. He forced them out, so Prayler starts his jungle very late, but the fact that he was able to push only off the top scuttle, immediately goes now bottom side to pick up the other one. That's 2 scuttles for AV.
And the interesting thing was Praylist didn't start flail. He started E.
Yeah.
So he invaded with no ability for 4 auto attacks. That's a bold invade, Bryce.
It is. Did he... At what point did he level it?
So I think what he was hoping for was that Pabu was going to be able to get a couple of auto attacks in. They were going to be on like the correct side of it. Still hasn't hurt his jungle passing at all. I mean, he's absolutely fine.
Basically, even across the map is only just going to clear out the Wraith camp.
So talk us through the Kindred changes one more time. We've covered it a little bit, but why are we seeing her more?
In terms of overall meta, the changes to her, she got... she used to have on a W, I think it was, the reduction of attack speed of monsters. So that's now gone, but instead she gets sustain back. So she just clears a lot healthier now. You were talking yesterday about the ability early, like your marks are closer to your side of the map. And then as the game goes on, as you collect more marks, things like that, they get harder and harder to get onto your opponent's side. But I also think in terms of just early game and junglers' influence, it's much easier in a meta like this where junglers are ganking very early to pick up marks from champions. If you counter gank a lane, if you gank a lane, you can get behind a top laner level 2 with your red buff and things like that. I feel like there's just a lot more variety for the jungler, and Kindred can take advantage.
And do you think it's suits only as far as playstyle goes? Like, he has a unique playstyle. We kind of say that he's a man with a plan in the early game. Like, do you think that Kindred is a champion that requires that?
I definitely think it suits only. He's like a Nidalee player, Graves player, less of a Gragas, Sejuani, Zac. He's not an engaged jungler, whereas he's more of the carry style. So the fact that Decoy is a big Braum player, they have CC down there. Mimic this game has shown good performances on the Ornn. They have the flexibility to go for those carry style junglers where as
in a lot of trouble here. Does run Frey however.
Only it was around, so Frey tried to get a kill with an auto attack there. Would have just been cleaned up on the back end, but Claire, because he doesn't actually die, will just ever so slowly heal that one back up.
And Frey, without any way to get mana back, is really just stuck here auto-attacking minions.
Rise auto attacks really not something to be afraid of. Dematerializer gets him 1 creep. Can he collect the rest? He will be able to.
So good farming coming out of Frey in the early game. Forced Claire very low. See whether he teleports back with the spellbook or whether he just walks this one out.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, Claire, we're not at 6 minutes yet, so can't actually swap his summoner spells.
True.
30 seconds away, so we'll have to walk it. Of course, the wave meets in the middle, and the fact that he got his recall off before Frey means that doesn't really matter all that much. Darkseid, for some reason, not opting to recall with Jake, but almost at the same time, they're just going to go back together.
So I actually think that's why Zyra Khan funnel's so good. Because recall timing and the ability to be able to, like, get around Summoner's Rift through recalls and things like that means that Rakan always preps a recall. I hadn't thought about that until I went back and, you know, sat down what makes the funnel so potent with those two. I think that actually is one of the underrated parts.
Yep, because funnel is all about efficiency. You want to hit some camps, you want to go mid lane, pick up the wave, hit some more camps, things like that.
Ornhorn down to top lane, goes forward, will get the ultimate out as well with the flash. However, now only will be able to pick up the first blood.
And honestly, Pabu played it pretty well. The W stops the ultimate from coming through, knocks Mimic away, but The AD carry in the Kindred, flash burnt, skirmishes down. He just 1v1s the Poppy, and that's first blood.
And both of the top laners had gone for Sheen, so both of them very squishy, wanting to battle up there in the top lane, so that suits the Kindred fine.
Yeah, and the pillar came out
Oh,
last
that
minute,
is a root
actually.
there, and Raid takes a lot of damage. Will get knocked up, no, just misses. Decoy tries to save him.
And I'm surprised Jake just doesn't flash immediately, goes onto that pick. They saw Decoy walk towards the tri-bush, place down that pink ward. They have Prayless on their side of the map. It was easily a flash burn from Raid at best, maybe a cleanse walk away, but they would have got the chunk, not necessarily the kill, but if they get a chunk down here, you have the jungler, you have the dive already prepped.
But none of that happening because Summoner Spell not used. However, another nice route, and they're doing a very good job of farming up this lane. Earthdragon going to be started by Prayless.
Yep. We talk about a lot Sejuani's ability to solo out things. Much stronger now that she can just constantly spam that 4 proc there. Only showing on the top side. Going top, getting that kill means that AV do look for an answer on the bottom side. So basically, all of Only's jungle camps get taken away by Prayless and the Dragon now.
And you can see that they hit the Scryer's Bloom backward, trying to figure out what Prayless has warded in the jungle, not really contesting for this Dragon yet.
Little do they know, he has a sweeper, so didn't ward anything. As the audio cue from the Dragon, actually only level 6, just walks over the wall.
Prayless also level 6 now. Dinged it off the Dragon. Dragon experience, not something we talk about very often.
It's a pretty big deal. You know, it takes a whole lot of time. So the fact that it does give a fair amount, pretty good for Prayless here.
And because Only spotted out where Prayless is, he's just making a beeline for the jungle.
Ooh.
Prayless, however, has read the play.
And I really like this read. He was on the marked camp for Kindred, started up the Grom, wanted to take it away, but saw the play from Only and immediately reacts, but Frey has no mana in the mid lane. That's going to be the TP, so all of a sudden...
They throw the ultimate at Claire, however, and he just pulls it.
And he just walks away, absolutely fine. There's no damage that's going to come out of Arise. Once again, literally 0 mana, so Sejuani without an ulti versus the Kindred, there's no way to contest.
Claire goes forward, looking for some damage here. Ultimate down, will get back to a healthy margin as well. Frey has to recall.
But Legacy are prepping the dive in the mid lane. Mimic has his ulti back up and available. The flank coming out from the Kindred. No Sejuani ult for Prayless. Frey, very low health, 0 mana.
And you can see right now, Frey's saying, escort me back to the wave. And Prayless is saying, just recall. Like, what are you doing here still?
So that's the thing. There's nothing Sejuani can do at that point. Even if he walks him back to the wave, the dive is still there. It is still prepped. He wants to just clear out his camps. He wants to go back to the mark and clear out the Gromp. So Frey eventually TP's back to the lane, but that's a little bit of lost XP, a little bit of lost gold with the wave.
Also just guarantees that summoner. Now Claire, however, is going to back and will get rooted up. In some trouble, has to burn the heal. And you can see Frey going to continue to chase this one out. Has got full mana.
Oh.
Misses 2 Qs, however.
Very nice fancy feat from Claire. Only was at the back of the fight coming over. Prayless looking for a bit of counter jungling, but Legacy looking for the collapse.
Pinging onto Prayless right now. Multiple members heading towards that direction. Good pink ward control on that side of the map.
And to take a look down in the bottom lane once again, the farm is very even, but Darkseid and Jake have just been constantly pushing. They have had priority in this matchup. It means that Prayless has had somewhere to go on the map when topside is dying. Very nice play from Jake there. Of course, you don't actually stop your recall if you have a shield on there. So he walks forward, blocks the Ardent Blaze from the Lucian, and he then just grabs the Zai's recall, goes back as well.
Culling going to come out here as well, trying to shove this wave in, but it's not going to be the case. They get a little bit of damage down onto Darkseid, but he'll just eat all of those minions.
Zai are very good at dealing with a wave before it sets up in a minion lane. When it's walking at you, you can just hit feathers through absolutely everyone. You rip them back and clear that one out very quickly. It's multiple pink wards. They backed on a pink ward in the lane, pinking the river as well.
They also break Decoy's back. Now they should be able to shove this turret quite hard. Zaya Rakan, no slouches when it comes to turret damage. They know there is no teleport to be able to stop this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Only was down here as well. He was around the bottom lane, but recalled goes topside, so all of a sudden there's no real gank threat onto AV. And it's a very long walk for Raid and Decoy.
And this is significant damage going down. This all of a sudden means that if one gank is successful from a Sejuani, from a Rakan, who have very good setup, that turret is going to be broken.
Claire, you saw on your screen just briefly, incredibly low, goes back, hadn't based for a long time, was just sitting on the boots. Spellbook comes up and available, and he gets his second proc. Had the heal first, now the TP, so doesn't lose anything, but AV just looking to pressure the bottom side of the map.
And Frey cheats into Fog of War on his recall, so they get another couple of auto attacks.
And you can see the pink wards again, that one around the red buff towards mid lane. They place that very aggressively, obviously looking to set this play up. That one right there, so he ends up basing on it, but Legacy will clear it out on the back end of the play. They don't pull the trigger, but that turret went from full HP to about 30% very quickly.
But now you know Decoy isn't there. They could have flashed onto Raid. They had Praylist to layer the CC, but they don't commit for the play. They knew where Raid was. That really surprised me that they didn't go for that. Instead, they'll go for it now. They try and predict the dash. Does not work out. Now Praylist here. Dash is down. Do they just contest for the turret?
And that was such a missed opportunity. He had the ulti. He could have gone onto the Lucian, but they don't want to burn any buttons. They do get the turret. Pabu.
Meanwhile, top lane, Pabu's in big trouble. We'll have to burn the flash. You can see Kindred is on that side of the map. If he dodges out on the ultimate here, does not and just gets punted away.
Very nice predict from Pabu. Has the pink ward, but spotted out only just in time. Knocks him away. AV win the race to first brick, so...
Not only that, they're going to win the race to mid lane turret as well. You can see waves are now about to crash, and they haven't got anyone rotating over here. This is going to be 4 members on mid lane turret. Going to take significant damage.
Sejuani over the wall. They have so much CC. Ryze, Xayah, Rakan, and the Sejuani. Finally, Legacy looking for something. Mimic has flanked TP wards, but without an ulti, there's no real play for them to make.
Yeah, and I don't really understand why they let Claire walk into it there, because as you said, no ultimate available. Pabu can match TP. With ultimate, Mimic much more useful. Without ultimate, I would argue Pabu probably more useful. But they just don't stick with the play. Instead, they give away a free Rift Herald.
Playing it very slow. Gold lead just slightly in the hands of Legacy right now. As farm lead on the top side, 10 CS. Everywhere else, basically even.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 in the jungle. That's 600 in the bottom lane, so that's 1,000 gold lead. It's all Kindred. Top laners and bottom laners trading.
I'm interested to see what play they do make with Rift Herald. Burning that top lane outer is kind of... It doesn't happen too often that the top outer is the first one to die. More often you see it in the bottom lane, or like if you have a very slow laning phase, then Rift Herald play mid makes the first brick. But Legacy, with that Rift Herald, wanting to break up in the mid play. AV, once again, floating towards bot side of the map. They're looking to stack up this dragon. It is an Infernal. And Only's actually just going top side, so Legacy look like they don't care.
Yeah, potentially going to be the case. So 2 dragons and the 2 most valuable at that in the Infernal Drake and the Mountain Drake picked up early.
And Legacy are a ping team. You can tell immediately when the dragon spawned, Mimic pinged on the way to his top turret. Only was pinging mid lane looking for a gank. He marked Frey, as you see on the screen right now, but they don't really get anything. They're getting a red buff for the dragon, but you have to say, in the scale of those 2 objectives, dragon wins.
Denies a big creep wave from Pabu top lane. So he's set further behind. Now he's a full level down in about 20 CS.
Not to mention went for the Spectres after his Sheen, has the Merchros, whereas Mimic has the ability to just go straight for the first item. So finish the tabbies, has the stopwatch still available, but has finished his Frozen Fist.
And now they've rotated everyone into the mid lane. Teleport going to be burnt to try and get back here, but that is 4 members strong of the Legacy lineup.
Can they clear?
Have the Rift Herald as well.
They might just not even need to burn it. Jake is looking for a deep flank coming behind. Legacy do start to respect it. Prayless, he can fling the ulti if he wants to go in.
Yeah, they didn't. Ultimate would have probably been a flash at the least. No way for Raid to join the fight again, but nothing happening.
So I think the early item spike favors the bottom lane of AV. They've already finished the Storm Razor, have tier 2 boots. Raid still working on his balk. You expect with this base, he's going to go back with the CS lead now. He has enough to finish it up, but in terms of item timings, if AV went there, he wouldn't have been at the play. Even if he was, he would have been weaker than the Xayah.
So a very interesting early game so far. Back and forward, 1,000 gold still the lead. However, double Drakes at this stage, I would say 1,000 gold, not really all that much of a lead unless Kindred can really get a motor on in this mid game.
And the Dragon lead, it's very large for AV.
Yep.
It's so surprising that Legacy have played like the macro fairly well for the most part. Like they've been making plays on the top side, just defending on the bottom side. They take away the camps. Kindred has a whole bunch of marks already, but the fact that they just have no priority on these dragons whatsoever against a composition like the Xayah Rakan with the Ryze, there's a whole lot of damage there that it's pretty rough to deal with.
So clearing out vision around this mid lane again. Kindred is looking for
big
potentially
flank.
Jake. Flank is coming in. However, the ultimate already charged will just punt away the Ornn.
And onto Frey!
Into the mid lane.
Oh.
Onto Frey will be able to take it out. Fancy footwork.
Such a nice flash. Barely keeps himself alive, and that's a big expenditure from Legacy. They burn the TP. They burn the Ornhorn, and they also burn the Rift Herald. Can
Without
AV
Ornhorn,
defend?
can they fight? That is the question. Still flash engage available for Jake. They don't choose to fight, instead they just choose to take the turret.
And Prayless coming from the side means that Mimic, despite being ultless, just walks at the Sejuani, and all of a sudden he's trading 1-for-1. He makes himself useless, but so is the only engaged, or one of the engaged tools from AV, and Rift Herald. One hit is all it needs to take down the turret, so Legacy find themselves another victory.
And once again, AV have split the map. They have lost all priority on this bottom lane that had a turret, had a wave much closer. You can see Zaya trying to match this push, but don't know whether it's really going to be successful in the same time.
Double 80 carries here in the Kindred, in the Lucian. It's going to be 5 members on the bottom side of the map, and you can see the pings on the inner turret. They want to push for more, not just going for the outer. They're willing to trade with the tempo.
And they can. I mean, you can see a big creep wave is still going to be there. There's no way Pabu can really stop this. Has to leave.
But do they just lose mid for this? Claire has rotated all the way over. He has Spellbook, but because he's already swapped to TP, can't get back there in time. And
But how far can
do
Legacy
they just
go?
keep racing? Pabu doesn't have ulti, so Poppy traditionally in this sort of setup can just punt away the wave and buy some time like a Rumble, like a Gangplank, but all of a sudden, Legacy, they have a wave, recalls are starting to come out, but they might just have enough time to get the turret.
Potentially, and can they just continue to push forward? No, they cannot, because Rakan is on the flank, is pinging on the way, so they have to back away.
He knew he was on vision, had the sweeper available, walked over a ton of Legacy wards, didn't have time to clear it. So it is ultimately just a 2-for-2 trade. The outer ring now broken on Legacy's side of the map, and they just ran it all the way up bot lane. Took a bunch from AV.
You would argue 3-for-2, given the fact that it started with mid lane turret falling down as well. So certainly a positive trade for Legacy, even though they had to burn Rift Herald.
Yep.
Didn't give them any further gold lead, however, because of how much farm AV were picking up in multiple lanes as well as a jungle at the same time.
And it's interesting to me in terms of contrasting this to set 1 of the day, right? Like, we had a very stagnant laning phase. Like, teams were just opting into a very extended laning phase, lasted all but 20 minutes. Yep. This map has been broken open by both teams. The outer ring completely gone on either side. Legacy have that 1 turret advantage, and everybody's been constantly jostling for position. We're approaching that 20-minute mark with 1 minute on the Baron spawn.
And then you contrast them today to yesterday's game, where we saw double funnel played in set 1, and then Mordecai as a bottom lane and things like that. This looks like League of Legends last split.
All over the place, everybody has tons of different ideas. Of course, this is the last week we actually play on patch 8.13, so 14 going to change it up. It's interesting, like, now that we are on this sort of cycle, like the 2-week patch incoming, you have a week of everybody having completely different ideas, and then it's sort of settling out the next week of OPL.
I think given that Worlds is coming up, the patches will
Become
decrease in
less,
size.
Become less like harsh, less significant in terms of the changes. It's just smaller tweaks here and there.
It's more like champion buffs and nerfs as opposed to that. I still think they want to kill funnel at some point. I don't know how they're going to do it.
I like killing funnel. I'm not a big funnel fan. I just want 80 carries back, because then I can play Blitzcrank, and then I can hook someone. Then I have 2 targets in the bottom. But he can do the buffer with the turret. You know?
Infernal Drake starting up. They're going to teleport
Big
in for
flank.
this one. Mimic is on the flank. Frey is on the flank. I would rather Mimic's flank.
But Mimic might just be caught between multiple AV members
Certainly
here.
looks to be the case. Will go golden
Stopwatch.
with that stopwatch. Do they just punt him away? They will
They
get
do.
2 of them. They finally get the re-engage, disengage ultimate. But Mimic with a big ultimate in the opposite direction. Claire already used pull. Will just go down so early into this one. Rise ultimate looking for the Lucian as well, but they get cancelled out of it.
Decoy clutch ulti saves multiple Legacy members. AV find the 3rd dragon of the game. And the proactive disengage works out this time for the first time ever.
I just can't believe we were talking about it,
then
and
it
it finally happened.
Pabu is a monster. And Mimic just caught between so many members. He thought he was flanking, but Pabu had ideas of his own. And AV bite back.
Flankception on Summoner's Rift right now. So we take another look.
And Mimic he tries to buy sometime, but the fact that Pabu starts channeling the ultimate, Mimic flashes over the wall and he gets both. The 2 tanks. Claire, at this point, has to pull early. Very big knockup from Mimic. Hits almost everyone on AV, but at that point, the damage dealers aren't grouped up with the tanks. The frontliners all of a sudden become the backline for Legacy, and everybody falls down, so they all just have to run away.
The real interesting thing there for me was the fact that Kindred went away from the fight. Now, this is something that probably every Kindred player would scream no to. And sure, they only lost one person in a Dragon, but I wonder if only Claire and Ray just sat on each other in Kindred Ultimate, would it have bought enough time for the likes of Decoy to come back? No, before Claire even had to pull. When your two tanks get punted out, you just regroup, Kindred ulti, and start the fight. You got a Vladimir, you got a Lucian. They're probably going to chunk people out at this stage of the game.
The problem is it's so scattered, right? They were already splitting. They hadn't split yet, but they'd already chosen directions. Decoy and Raid went up the river. Kindred went into the Dragon Pit to try and hop around.
Okay.
Because he initially decides okay, I need to save Mimic. I need to hop over the back of the wall. If they'd made that decision early, then sure, but it's also relying on Pabu to punt your tanks away, and it's a very early decision to make.
Also very rough to group against Azaya Rakan. You probably don't want to do that in hindsight.
AV all of a sudden find themselves with control around the Baron.
They've got control everywhere. They've got double Infernal Drake and a gold lead.
Because we were complimenting Legacy early, and they'd taken down more turrets. They played the macro game. AV had been farming up a Storm in the middle lane. Frey finds himself with a 60 CS lead over Claire. Despite very early in the game, he was and he was getting shoved off his turret multiple times. Legacy looked for that engage, but in the last couple of minutes has found access to farm. Now he has TP where Legacy only have the one on Mimic, and he's just getting free farm in the bottom lane. Solo experience basically untouched as Legacy expend everyone topside to try and get vision around the Baron.
And the problem is Rakan is so good at turning off Baron, but isn't your primary tank. This is why Rakan and Xayah excel at Baron. Xayah goes untargetable when all the AoE gets chucked into the Baron pit, and then Rakan is the best turn in the game.
Because he can also just flash ulti in, and then he's completely safe to just dash out. When you have a Xayah, the range is just so big.
Can get your jungler from such long range. They don't generally build things like QSS, so he can contest the over-the-wall contest and things like that. Very risk-free.
Just very versatile here. Jake still sitting on the stopwatch, so has the extra bit of safety available there. Probably going for the Zeeks. Wants to give Darkseid a whole bunch of damage. Not a whole lot of kills this game, which is surprising for the OPL. 24-ish minutes in right now. Only 2 between the two teams, so they've constantly been jostling for position, but no one really making big proactive plays.
And you would say this suits Avant, because they're the kind of team, as we said, that just want nothing to happen until something big happens. And they've now gone back. They've got a Void Staff on their rise. He is massive.
Yep.
They've got themselves the Abyssal Mask. Not Abyssal Mask. What is it? Adaptive Helm on Parbo as well. He's going to take next to no damage.
Yep. And they have a crit 80 carry. Has the Storm Razor Rapid Fire working on that Infinity Edge. If you get to 3 items on the Xayah, then in terms of scaling off with the Lucian, incredibly heavily favored, especially when you have a Rakan who can go for the Zeeks and then safely go for something like Ardent. You don't need to go even more defensive on Jake's pickup here, so he can give Darkseid a whole boatload of extra damage, and Ardent isn't really something you talk about in this meta.
You can see that they feel like they're getting outscaled as well, so instead they just say, let's start up the Baron. But Pabu, remember, has a disengage, re-engage ultimate, so they send Frey into the top lane. Do they charge up the Poppycopter? Yes, they do, on ultimate use, and he gets the 80 carry this time around. Charm up, great layering of CC there. Decoy not able to do anything in the back line. Frey is tearing them apart. You can see Pabu does get the heal. Frey now has to try and get away, but a very nice ultimate. And Frey is just destroying them. Claire can do nothing at the moment, but just watch his team get ripped apart. 3 members go into that ultimate. 4 members go into that ultimate. Mimic will fall down, and this is a 3-0 and Baron.
And it was such a split fight. Multiple carries caught behind, but Frey is the flanker that does all the work. He has the Shirelli. He's just picked up the Void Staff. He's just so strong, and AV, they knock out the 80 carry. Raid goes flying off the map. They immediately pull the engage and now get themselves 3 dragons and a Baron.
And Frey has always been such a bizarre player. He was the player that on Immunity, when they were about to be relegated, put so much work into that lineup and just came out and absolutely washed the promotion relegation. Then fell off for a long time again. Was swapped to 80 carry, was swapped back to mid lane on Hellion. And since he's been on this Avant lineup, has honestly been pretty underwhelming. But this team fight, I mean, if you just track it, he was huge.
Yeah, he has a very deep flank. Shirelli's to get into the fight. Multiple layering of CC onto Claire at the start. Only does well to buy themselves a lot of time, but Claire just does absolutely no damage with the ultimate. He had to walk away. Exhaust goes down onto Frey, but at that point, it's just too little too late. Jake even further zoning, and this was super nice. Realm Warp channeled very early as they pick up the first kill. Mimic, absolutely nowhere he can go, and AV just pick up everyone.
And the thing about this game is a third Infernal Dragon is going to be picked up. Is 80 carries do more damage at this point. Yep. Once this Infinity Edge is picked up, it's not like he's on equal footing as an old school 3-item 80 carry. He does more because of the true damage that comes through from crit. Darkseid is going to be a monster, and they actually Shirelias themselves in.
Oh,
Raid
both
gets destroyed. Mimic now also going to be chased down. Uses the Bellows Breath, uses the ultimate. If they just hit the turret once, they'll be out of danger. Frey picks him up as well. Flash forward. They will get... No, they won't get in the Realm War. But there's already cannon creep there.
And it's all over the place, but AV find themselves another 2 kills. Every summoner burnt from Raid. Very nice multi-man charm from Jake, and this might just be the end.
It looks like it could be. 17 seconds on the 80 carry. 25 seconds on the tank. Flash, wallbang, gets some Ember in Claire, and now Decoy can't do anything. Only will be chased back to the fountain. Has to use the respite, but Frey and Avant will give absolutely none of it and destroy Legacy in game number 1.
And this looks like a completely different AV. Sure, it was a slow early game, but as soon as it got to 20 minutes, as soon as Baron spawned and things started happening, completely blew open the game. You don't expect AV of last week and the week before to be flashing under the Nexus, Pabu on the Poppy, hitting that flash wallbang onto Claire to pick off the last remaining carry for Legacy, and starting this series off incredibly strong.
And they all look pretty meh. I mean, Pabu sprung out of his chair. He had a little bit of a pop-off, but everyone else kind of were like, yeah, all right, 27-minute victory against the team that came third last split and took Chiefs to all 5 games.
Because today, that's a very quick win. We've had like 2 40-minute games. And 27 minutes, that's pretty quick for such a slow early game. The ability to close that one out, it was that Baron fight. Immediately walk bot, 2 picks, Legacy. Playing a little bit greedy there. Raid steps up too far, gets hit by the Rune Freeze, and Mimic dies with the AD carry, and they just fall down.
Very bizarre performance out of Legacy as well, I must say. Braum Lucian, that's a dominant lane. Yep. No attention given bottom lane. Only on a farming jungler. Didn't really put the jungler on a hard farm either. Wasn't really able to get that much done. And they just controlled, apart from top lane, which Mimic had firm control of, they controlled nowhere on the map.
There was that like early gank that like they got the first blood onto Pabu on the top side. But from that point, you're like setting up an Ornn to beat on a Poppy. So like sure, Mimic has the control, but it's not like he's a Camille as a Fiora that's going to start popping off like when he finishes his first item, stuff like that. And AV just had the slow like objective control on the other side of the map. They were taking dragons, they were just taking turrets. Sure, they got first brick down there, and they were just looking to trade constantly. And when the map opened up, when it got to 20-something minutes, they just turned on and pulled the trigger immediately. And bold trading, but, you know, they had the crit 80 carry. So if you could give equal gold to both teams, Xayah was always going to do more with it. And I think that that's just, you know, ballsy play that we haven't necessarily seen out of Avant lately. Yeah, and I feel like AV is a team that, over the course of the split, obviously Darkseid very new. Barring the first week, we haven't seen AV put a lot of resources into him. He's been playing like utility, like the Swain, stuff like that. But this is a different style. They picked the Rakan, they picked the Xayah. That's a proactive bot lane matchup. We've seen them play like Swain Pike, where Jake was like 0-0-0 at 20 minutes, right? Like had a very defensive game, and they haven't been doing all that much. But that was the complete opposite, and it looked like it worked. It certainly did. 27-minute victory. That certainly worked. However, we have at least one more game of League of Legends after the break. We'll come back with Nick and Ryoma.
Do you want to compete at the highest level? He put the Stand United onto the 80 carry, but what 80 carry? He's gone! Can you carry your school to victory? Paranoia activated straight into the back line to take out DMZ and remove him from the fight. And now Rangitoto College have command over Summoner's Rift. Make sure you register your team at lolhsl.com.
Thanks to Hungry Jacks, you can win a trip for 2 to the 2018 World's Grand Final in Korea. To enter, head to os.lolesports.com/worlds-trip and fill out your details. The trip includes flights, transfers, accommodation, and tickets to the 2018 World's Grand Final. All thanks to Hungry Jacks.
They will
They
get
do.
2 of them. They finally get the re-engage, disengage ultimate. But Mimic with a big ultimate in the opposite direction. Claire already used pull. Will just go down so early into this one. Rise ultimate looking for the Lucian as well, but they get cancelled out of it. Yes, they do. On ultimate use, and he gets the AD carry this time around. Charm up. Great layering of CC there. Decoy not able to do anything in the back line. Frey is tearing them apart. You can see Pabu does get the heal. Frey now has to try and get away, but a very nice ultimate. And Frey is just destroying them. Claire can do nothing at the moment, but just watch his team get ripped apart. 3 members go into that ultimate. 4 members go into that ultimate. Mimic will fall down, and this is a 3-0, and Baron Raid gets destroyed. Mimic now also going to be chased down. Uses a Bellows Breath, uses the ultimate. If they just hit the turret once, they'll be out of danger. Frey picks him up as well. Flash forward. They will get... No, they won't get in the realm war. But there's already cannon creep there. Flash, wallbang, gets the member in Claire. And now Decoy can't do anything. Only will be chased back to the fountain. Has to use the respite. But Frey and Avant will give absolutely none of it and destroy Legacy in game number 1.